Hey, I'm on the edge of my seat here, back again with another brand new video, and today I will be no damaging all the boss fights in Roblox 5. And one thing I like to point out about this game is, well, it's going to appear very soon, but right now we're just dealing with these two guys. One of these guys is copying Rikia from Yakuza 3. The other one, I forgot what moveset he was copying, but the important thing to keep in mind is, okay, look at this. He grabs a bottle, he smashes it, we get a little tutorial message for like QTEs, feel the heat, and then look at that button right there. Does that not look different from the button that's on the PS3 and PS4 editions of the game? That's because it is different, and I don't know why they changed it. Like, it doesn't really read clear. It's not really like a clearer icon than the other one. It's like less buttony. Like, I don't know, I mean, the previous QTE icon like felt a little bit more buttony. But I don't know, it's just something weird that they changed for the PC edition of this game. Like, I am playing with the PS5 controller, but I don't know, something weird which they're doing with like PS5 versions of games which have QTEs in them is that, you know how the PS4 controller, it has like different colors for like each like, you know, face button? Well, the PS5 controller doesn't have that. They're all the same color, so the QTE icons for these buttons are all now the same color. Like, I mean, look, compare PS4 footage and PS5 footage of Yakuza 7, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, starting this fight off, I go for like a full combo more Morinaga, kind of do that, and then I knock over Aizawa with the super glue, and then I do the super glue heat action on both of them, because it's just kind of like, this is like one of the only times you fight like two boss fights at the same time. I mean, the first one is like too lame to do the super glue, I think, and also I'm not even sure if you can get super glue. You could get super glue, but it's just kind of like, it's a bit of a lame fight. It's not really worth doing the super glue heat action on them. And now here's the thing about Morinaga. Most of the time you can do a full combo on him, or he'll just block your combo, and that's kind of it. He can't really retaliate against you. So, I mean, sometimes he might hit you before you hit him, but if you're really quick with it, you'll hit him like really quickly. And yeah, one thing about this game, just like Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2, grabs damage you, or at the very least, grabs done by certain boss fights like damage you. And honestly, I didn't remember it being like that. I remember it that, you know, Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2 were the ones that started that whole thing where if an enemy like grabs you, you know, doesn't do anything to you, just grabs you, it damages you, because like, you know, I mean, escaping grabs is like a skill you can do, and like, you know, to avoid damage, but if the grabs themselves deal damage, it's kind of like, what are we doing here, you know, like, it just doesn't feel the same. It's just like, now you have to be even more careful when dealing with boss fights. You can't get as playful with them anymore. You know, you can't escape, like, you know, failing a no damage by like smashing like the escape grab button anymore. That's just not possible because the grab by itself already damages you. And oh yeah, by the way, I will be using a combo speed boost mod. It only boosts the combo speed of Kiryu and Saejima because, I don't know, boosting the combo speed of Akiyama and like Shinada is a little bit complicated, especially for Haruka. That's like the most complicated. That's why the mod hasn't really made much progress in a while. So the modder has relocated their resources to like more lucrative ventures than trying to boost Akiyama and Shinada's speed, because really they don't really need that much of a speed boost. The speed boost for Kiryu and Saejima helps a ton, especially with Saejima. Anyways, here I decided to bring out a big cannon because, I don't know, the last time I no damaged this guy, I tried to do it like, I pretty much did the same thing at the beginning, you know, kind of like feign an attack, do one attack, grab combo, but this time I'm going to do a cool little heat action, and here I'm just going to guess when he dodges, and I failed to like react immediately, but I also want to use my ultimate essence. So one cool way to do your ultimate essence after a heat action is to do a combo, and then once you're done with that combo, you'll be able to immediately do the ultimate heat essence. And look at how that times it. Like, I mean, that little effect where like it kind of goes dun 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 dun, that only happens when the heat action kind of bugs out and like, you know, isn't like catching up to the speed of the heat action. But like that little effect, you know, that little glitch matches perfectly with the song. I love that. I love that. Oh. But yeah, the strategy for this guy, he's a bit annoying because he's kind of a counter player. So whenever you're trying to attack him, he'll be countering you, or you'll like hyper armor through something you do. And you kind of have to learn his parry patterns, but like he doesn't always do the same attack. Sometimes he does an attack that like immediately attacks you. I don't know, one thing I like to do is kind of run away from him, keep my back to him, because whenever I have my back to him, he tends to like do an attack, and that's how I was able to do those like instantaneous parries. And then since I'm on low health, I'm gonna do this heat action. And yeah, I'm also on low health in order to do a different red heat action. And well, the thing about the red heat actions is that you can only do them once, and they don't really have any special conditions to do them unless, you know, except for, there's like 3 different like red heat actions. One is for being drunk, one is for having low health, and one is for and one is just the normal one. I kind of missed the thing in Yakuza 3 where if you parry an enemy and you're on red heat, then you can do a special heat action. While here, there's no real skill involved to it. You just need to have the red heat meter like, you know, filled, and that's how you do it. Also, another thing to mention is at one time I loaded my game in and only my left earphone worked for like 10 minutes and then both of them worked, and it had nothing to do with the quality of my headphones. It was just something else happening with my computer, the game, you know, like somewhat somewhere. It's just a weird experience. And it's just really strange. And yeah, this is just a QTE. It's not really a boss fight, you know, like lol. And so now I need to mention something related to this fight. So sometimes when you have like a ton of heat and you activate like the super heat mode, you know, like the climax heat mode, this mode is like super important for like defeating this boss fight. I mean, like it is kind of possible to do it without this mode, but it's also kind of impossible. Like, you know, it's just it's probably like the hardest or second hardest fight. No, actually this is the hardest fight in the game. It took me like 8 hours to do this on Legend. Like when I was doing this fight on hard in my previous like Yakuza 5 run. Now I will mention Yakuza 5 and Roblox 5 are very distinct. They're similar but very distinct games, you know. It is not the same experience. They've altered certain things from like Yakuza 5 to fit the more Robloxian Lynchian style. And I'll get more into that Lynchian style later. But yeah, to get back to the red heat, so like sometimes when you have like a ton of heat and you activate the super red mode, it doesn't show you how much heat you're losing while using it. But that's kind of not true, because instead what's happening is that there's a flashing overlay on top of the heat bar slowly going down, and this is super annoying because it makes it harder to see how much heat you have left before the red mode runs out. Like, this is super important for the Tojo Clan fight, because you need to know exactly how much heat you have before you run out of heat, because you don't want to be like standing still trying to do a combo then immediately run out of heat and get hit, because when you're in this red heat mode, you're completely invincible, and you need that invincibility to like manage the crowd, because if you can't manage the crowd, if you run out of invincibility at a point you didn't think you'd run out of it, it's just like, it's so strange. You don't want to deal with that. It's like, ah. However, the thing is, I don't know when that flashing overlay happens, because for some reason in my footage here, there is no flashing overlay. You can see how much heat you're losing very clearly. So it's just like, sometimes the flashing overlay is there, sometimes it isn't, and I just prefer it. I just prefer when it's not there, because when it's not there, I can like better calculate when to like stop, you know, hitting people, or when to like do a grab and like dodge out of the way. Because the thing is, like, you know, doing like light combos here like depletes us normally, but once you do one grab, it just runs out immediately. So, you know, you have to wait for like your heat bar to be all the way at the bottom and then you do a grab. Also, another thing to mention about this fight is that when you beat up enough enemies in the Tojo Clan fight, there will be like a cutscene to introduce a new phase of the fight. If you activate the red heat during this new phase, there is a possibility that you will still be in red heat once the game switches back to gameplay, but you have to pay attention to the UI to know the answer. If your health bar is still on screen while the cutscene is happening, then you will still be in red heat, but if there is no health bar, then the game will kick you out of red mode once it switches back to gameplay. Remember that, because, you know, like in that, you're not invincible. You know, like, you know, when they introduced the red guy, there was no health bar, so you're just going to be in normal. You're just going to be in normal mode, so you can't depend on your invincibility activated previously. Just keep that in mind. Super, super important. And yeah, like, once you defeat this red guy, then all the little mini bosses they throw at you are pretty much dead and gone, and then you just have to defeat enough enemies to kind of activate the final phase. That's another thing. You can like activate different phases of the fight by defeating like a certain number of enemies, but I'm not sure what certain number of enemies it is, because like sometimes I activate like that first or second phase like instantaneously, and other times it takes a little bit more like, you know, enemy like takedowns to activate that second phase. So yeah, I'm not really talking too much strategy with this fight. I mean, I'm talking about some strategies, but it's just kind of like, I mean, there is so much happening on screen. How are you going to read anything? The strategy for this fight, the way I have myself set up with like my double, you know, like yellow health bars and like maxed out stats and all that, the strategy is to build up heat, use the red mode to take out as many enemies as possible, then like, you know, once you run out of the red mode, dodge, try to build up heat again by doing, you know, kind of like square, triangle, grab someone quickly, make sure to grab someone who's like far away from the crowd, make sure that whoever's following you isn't going to do like a running kick attack. It's a really frustrating fight. This took me like 8 to 9 hours to like no damage with my setup, so it's just like, that's the entire fight. And then, you know, when the boss fights get introduced, the first guy has a gun. He's really annoying. You want to take him out, like, you know, immediately, because he can shoot you from far away, and like there will be like no trigger for it, no tell. He'll just go pop and you'll get shot. And it's pretty much just luck based unless you eliminate him immediately. So eliminate the guy with the gun immediately if you can. And then for the other people, they don't have guns, so that's cool. Like the hammer guys, they just kind of, like the big hammer guys, they just kind of stand around and wait for you to hit them because they're slow. They have hammers. Now the last guy, the guy in the red shirt, he's very fast. He runs after you. He's like persistent, so you do want to like kill him as quickly as possible as well because he can make it hard to build up heat with all the other enemies. But yeah, to work back to another point I wanted to mention, the way the save points, taxis, and like mission objectives are placed in like the first city of Yakuza 5 is honestly kind of frustrating. It kind of feels like the taxis are placed in such a way to be really far away from the objectives. Same thing with the save points. So you have to go to a really far away save point to get to your objective. And I'm just kind of thinking, is this like a Yakuza 5 exclusive thing, or is it just something which happened in the previous installments of the series? Because in the PS2 entries, you only had like 3 taxis. And limited save points, so it's just kind of like, is that true in those games? I don't know. Yakuza 3 was the same, only like 3 like taxis and like a couple save points here and there, but it just feels like uniquely annoying in Yakuza 5. Like there's like long stretches of land you have to walk, and it's just like, I don't know. In the previous games, it didn't really feel as annoying to traverse those levels. And like, it's kind of true with like the other cities, but I don't think as much as the first city. I don't know, the first city just has a really long design. Everything feels like super long, and like you have to walk across a long road to get to a certain place, or you have to like, it just feels weird. Yeah, this fight, it's not really a boss fight, but I just wanted to include it because we're fighting against the Majima family. And an old favorite from Roblox 0 has returned. It's Majima's grandfather, the big-ass cat. And like, what's happening here is that there's a bit of difference between Yakuza 5 and Roblox 5. In Yakuza 5, Majima is training Saejima to go into jail and not get like, killed, while here, Majima's grandfather, he came back and he wants to test out like, what's the correct term? Nephew? I don't know. Like, Majima's grandfather, that would make Majima his nephew? His grandchild? So, like, he's testing out his other grandchild to see if he's got the stuff. And now we're back in jail and we're dealing with Bald Man. This man is very bald. And, I don't know, the first strategy is knock this guy into the air, just swing him around like a puppet. That's pretty fun. And then after that, we can kill this guy. And like, I don't know, the Bald Man can be very tricky, so you have to be really careful with him. But here I'm going to do a heat action on him to kind of just get rid of him like that. And to move on, I don't know what to move on to. Oh yeah, I have one thing to mention. So it relates to Saejima. There's a certain heat ability which is called the Golden Dragon Spirit in the remaster of Yakuza 5. This is important, like the PS4 remaster of Yakuza 5. Wait, no. Also this is also the remaster, but it's Roblox 5, but this is like, between Yakuza 5 and Roblox 5, what I'm about to mention is the same thing between the both of them. So yeah, there is a certain heat ability, which is called the Golden Dragon Spirit in the remaster of Yakuza 5. This was important because the game was retranslated, so certain names might have changed. There is a red climax heat action you can do by doing the Golden Dragon Spirit ability. By the way, what the Golden Dragon Spirit ability is that you hold your taunt and you kind of just like suck in heat instead of like just taunting and getting like one burst of heat. You kind of suck it into like let your heat fill up gradually. And this is important to do a certain heat action, a certain red climax heat action. So by doing this near an enemy, you can do that red climax heat action, but when you read the description for that climax heat action, it tells you that you need to use the yellow Dragon Spirit ability to pull it off. Like, I don't remember, but I think in the original game, when it released on PS3 and was translated for the PS3, they called it the Yellow Dragon, but in the remaster, they called it the Golden Dragon. But the descriptions between the heat action and the descriptions between, the ability are different in the remaster. Like, in one description, they say golden, and in the other, they say yellow, so it's just slightly confusing if you don't know that. So that's just something to mention. And here, I kind of baited out his block. Because, if an enemy blocks you as Saejima, you can do a heat action, just break that block and deal massive damage. And that's what I wanted to do. I start the fight off with, the climax heat action, which just kind of slams him into the ground. And every time you do, a climax heat action in a group of enemies, the enemies all get, really scared. And when an enemy's, scared on the ground, they have, little purple haze around them. That's an instant one-hit kill. And I really love that. And I'm kind of sad that they removed that from, Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2, but they did bring it back for Judgment and Lost Judgment, enemy emotions, the heat actions and the combat you do in those games can affect how enemies react to you. Now, when enemies are scared of you in Judgment or when they're in agony, there's a bunch of different status effects you can do on enemies to change the field and you make things which are really useful. And can also activate certain heat actions. I really love that about Judgment and Lost Judgment, and also Lost Judgment the Kaito Files. They also worked it into that game in a really cool way. And Yeah, but there's like no way to make enemies get killed in one hit in those games, unlike in Yakuza 5. And for this giant bear thing here, the strategy is pretty simple, but it can still be a bit challenging if you're not really quick on your reactions. And also something which is really helping me is like Saejima's combo boosted speed, because without this like combo boost speed, you may only be able to get in like 2 hits there instead of like 3, like I'm doing here. Like with my boosted speed, I can get in 3 pretty easily. But yeah, pretty much like this tackle move you can do stuns the bear every time you do it to him, as long as he's like not in the middle of an attack. So, kind of, keep your distance, and when the bear's just kind of standing still and like their head is in a viable way to get tackled, go run, tackle the bear, it'll stun the bear, that'll give you like a chance to do like 3 hits, and then immediately dodge because the bear attacks it really quickly. It's kind of hard to get a read on this guy, but with this strategy, it works pretty well most of the time. Now, something which this bear usually does, but decided not to do at the beginning of this fight, is that it'll stand on its hind legs and do a big roar. When it does that, you'll have time to do one full combo, like square, 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 whole triangle, triangle, triangle. Now, one thing I have to mention is that this bear is placed in a really annoying fashion thanks to the legend difficulty of Yakuza 5 and Roblox 5. It works the same for both games, and I hate it in both games. It's just like Legend's like whole gimmick is that if you die, you have to reload a save point. So if you die at this boss fight, it means you have to reload a save point and like redo everything you had to do before getting to this boss fight. So depending on the placement of boss fights, that can drastically vary your frustration. But for this bear, the frustration is at a complete maximum, because it's placed at the very end of the chapter, but it's placed at the very end of a long battle. You have to defeat an entire crowd, you have to defeat the bald man from before, and then after you defeat the bald man from before, you have to watch a cutscene. I mean, you can skip a cutscene, but then there's another cutscene that you can't skip. And then after that, see, when your bear stood up, that bear usually does that much earlier in the fight, but decides to do it at the very end, and at the very end, I defeated most of its health bars, so it just cuts to the QTE immediately. And it's just like, so you have to you have to do like a crappy snowmobile chase, and then once you do that, finally you get to fight the bear. And if you fail the bear, you have to repeat all of that again. Also, this bear is related to Paddington, which does become a huge point of drama in the story. In fact, one of the reasons Bob was actually facing off against you at this exact point is because you defeated one of Paddington's family members. You don't do that. I mean, he hasn't done anything bad, but it's just a misunderstanding. Sometimes these stories do kind of over rely on misunderstandings. You kind of have to deal with it. And yeah, my strategy here is kind of do a combo, knock them on the ground. And one thing I like to do with Saejima is when an enemy's on the ground, instead of stomping on them, I just kind of do square, whole triangle, and that tends to work a lot. That still works quite a bit, even if you don't have the combo speed boost mod. And here I'm going to do a Saejima tiger drop in order to have the enemy stunned, because if the enemy's stunned, that'll give me enough time to do this climax heat action, which I was talking about. So yeah, the golden dragon spirit or the yellow dragon spirit, they're the same exact thing, just different names. It's just holding down the taunt button, and then once you hold it for enough time and you're in front of an enemy and you have enough heat, and also if you have the red climax heat, then you can do that little heat action, that red climax heat action. I just kind of want to vary things up. I don't want to repeat the same climax heat action over and over again. Though for certain characters, one of their climax heat actions is just a little bit too situational and I don't like it. That character is Akiyama. So I'm not going to do... there's a certain climax heat action you can do as Akiyama, which involves defeating a group of enemies. You have to do air combo, and it's just that doesn't work at all for boss fights, because I tend to do these climax heat actions on boss fights. If we're doing it for a single enemy, who cares? I mean, there's one situation where I do kind of care, and that situation will come soon. So yeah, I do a combo, I do a heat action, I do the heat action where I tackle the enemy and I bring him to the ground, so I can do the flying thing where I crush their back and slam their face into the ground. And then after that, I'm going to rely on some grabs. I do the throwing action, and then I do a kick, and then that gives me time to do 2 square whole triangle actions. And then after that, instead of grabbing him to throw him, I try to grab him to do a light combo, a light grab combo, and then that knocks him to the ground. That gives me enough heat in order to be able... Look at that sink though! Okay, but yeah, that gives me enough heat to do the heat action where I kind of bait out a block. Most of the time when I try to bait out a block, I do square, square, whole triangle, but I kind of messed up my input, so instead I did square, whole triangle instead, but it worked out anyways, and I was able to do the heat action, I was able to defeat that boss fight. Anyways, here, if you look here, Paddington, because his family member was harmed, will actually show up as a ghost. Look at that. Did you catch him yet? Did you catch him yet? Yeah. His spirit kind of haunts the other characters because the Saejima was misdeeds. Just kind of keep that in mind. It's really important for the story of Roblox 5. But yeah, moving on from that, with a PC port of Roblox 5 and Yakuza 5, you can use your keyboard and mouse. I don't do this, but it's important to mention this because I did notice something when I used it when my controller ran out of battery. Now, when my controller ran out of battery, I didn't continue with any of the fights because I can only really no damage with the controller. I'm not trained with the keyboard and mouse. That ability will have to go to Gunk Shot, and I will definitely mention Gunk Shot again for certain strategies and all. But yeah, with a PC port of Yakuza 5, keyboard and mouse, when you are playing the game with a controller, every camera movement you do that's like a little too crazy will snap you back to normal once you stop holding the stick, controlling the camera. That is not true with the mouse because you can move the camera to places you never could before and leave it there until you stand still for too long, and then the camera snaps back to normal when the text box, appears saying your mission objective. So it's just you can kind of raise the camera to a higher location to kind of give a nice angle on your main character, and you can't really do that with the controller or on console. So I just thought that was something to mention. And yeah, this little dance minigame, so Haruka has 2 modes of gameplay. She has this dance minigame, then she has her concert minigame, and they're 2 different styles of minigame. And I prefer this one. I don't know, it's a little bit more involved. You kind of have to go up, left, right. You can do heat actions, it's like a whole little combat system of its own. And, the main story boss fights involving this combat system are a little bit too easy. And just like the main minigame, the one for the concert is just a little too straightforward, though that one I actually find a little bit harder than this one. I don't like, this minigame is both easier and harder than the concerts. I don't know, it's a really weird thing to explain because I find myself missing inputs a lot more during the concerts than I do here. Like here, I can get great, while during the concerts I tend to get great, good. Now, getting a good does not mean damage, it just means, doing it with less style. So I think my no damages of her concerts aren't nearly as stylish as my no damages here. Because here I'm always doing great, I'm doing heat actions, and it's just a nice little flow to it. I don't know, I think it has more flow than the concerts, but I guess you can't really interrupt the concert song with a heat action or whatnot. The only thing you really use heat for is those little things where you can activate a little heat mode to get more points while doing your little concert. But the thing about doing that heat mode is that it changes the way the game feels, because I don't know, there's a bit of a tactile feel. Here's the concert minigame. There's a bit of tactile feel to boom, 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 the way it enters this blue circle, there's a darker blue all the way at the corner and in the center of the circle, and you really want to get to that corner, that center blue, you have to stare into it, because it's the only thing you're staring into. You're staring at these little different lines coming across the screen. Compared to other rhythm games, this is really baby stuff. I mean, compared to Hatsune Miku, it doesn't compare, dude. The Hatsune Miku stuff is way harder. You have freaking 5 lines, you have different directions, you have different symbols, you have to shake the controller sometimes. I don't know how those games work. I've never played them, but I've seen them and they don't look normal. They look so much more complicated than this, but I can still mess this up, and it's always frustrating because especially with the main concerts. Oh yeah, something which Yakuza 5 and Roblox 5 have in difference is this song, So Much More. So in Yakuza 5, she gets to go to the concert so much more. However, the spirit of Paddington and T-Sec combined together, and it's not, when I say the spirit of Paddington, of course I'm talking about his doppelganger, not the original Paddington, because the original Paddington is sort of, the one. The original Paddington was actually created by this very tall man in the castle. It was kind of a golden spirit. Paddington and Laura both shared apartments, so they're kind of spirits of good, spirits of balance. However, the spirit infecting Roblox 5 is a spirit of evil. It's the doppelganger of Paddington. Now, Paddington was able to defeat his doppelganger. However, the doppelganger was not done with just being defeated because it latched on to the characters of Roblox 5. Given Saejima's strong connection to a family member of Paddington, what he didn't realize was that family member was actually a member of the doppelganger's family. The doppelganger was able to reproduce. I mean, no. It goes far deeper than that. It's not Paddington that reproduced. It's his family members who were doppelgangers that reproduced and created the doppelganger Paddington, who is now dead, and his spirit infects any evil actions created against the family of Paddington and also the family of the evil doppelganger Paddington. It's really important to keep that in mind. And because of that, Haruka tripped before going to the concert, to the really big concert for So Much More, as she was unable to attend, meaning she lost her first round against T-Set. I really like this change in Roblox 5. I think it adds an element of drama that wasn't there in the original Yakuza 5. I mean, Yakuza 5 did have some drama, but Roblox 5 I think really amps it up with her losing the first match because of these evil spirits and T-Set conspiring together to kind of prey on her downfall. So it's really engaging stuff. But before moving on, I need to mention probably the most important modder involved with this series, and that would be Adidas Kate, who without them, the Roblox franchise would not exist as it is today. You should commission them now! Also, Gungshot, I'm going to mention him because his Yakuza 5 videos kind of informed my strategies for my Roblox 5 videos. Because the game's gameplay loops are very similar, so I definitely want to keep that in mind. But one sadness about Roblox 5, and also Yakuza 5, is that the Akira dance battles aren't really that hard. I don't know, she's kind of like Haruka's main like rival slash friend. I mean, I don't know, like, Akira doesn't hate Haruka, she only hates Haruka because of circumstance, and also because, like, in Roblox 5 specifically, because of the meddling of the evil spirits involved with the idol industry. Like, I don't know, I mean, there are some harder Akira battles, like, I mean, no, I keep saying Akira, no, it's Akari. No, her name's Akari. I've been saying the wrong name. I think that's also, like, part of the meddling of the evil spirits, but yeah, like, Akari, I'm pronouncing it all wrong too. Like it just feels, I feel wrong saying it like that. But anyways, like her friend, so like her friend, there's harder battles with her in side mode. However, I didn't really feel compelled to include these modes in this video because I kind of felt, okay, so the word Mulholland. So Mulholland can mean really anything you want it to mean. It's a very interpretable word, but if you'll follow my meaning here with what the word Mulholland means, I felt a very strong Mulholland drive to see Roblox Haruka's dream through all the way to the end. And in Roblox 5 in particular, I don't think doing that side mode during the main story is really part of the dream of Roblox Haruka's dream. Honestly, it kind of feels like something you're meant to do after you beat the story, because I don't know, the way the emotions line up in specifically with Roblox 5, it really does feel like a mode you're supposed to do after the story, because I don't know, all the fame which Haruka gets after quitting the idol industry, that feels like it hits a lot harder while doing the side mode, because I don't know, it's kind of like, you know, a misunderstanding of, is she still famous? Is she not famous? You know, all that like drama, which, you know, isn't really explored that much in Yakuza 5. Gets explored a lot more in Roblox 5. Anyways, this fight sucks. Okay, so like when it comes to saying what's the worst game, or you know, what's the worst fight in this series, or like the worst fight in Roblox 5 in particular, ignore that I said series. This may be the worst fight in Roblox 5 just from memory, because it's just like, it's so lame. Like, this guy's fighting style, he has Capoeira, and Capoeira is awesome. In fact, a Roblox 4 boss fight, forgot his name, Miname also used Capoeira, and he was dope. But then you fight this guy, and it's so lame. It's like, like, I mean, pretty much Capoeira, like, you know, for Miname meant that he was a little tricky and he could dodge out of your attacks, while here, all Capoeira means is that he has super armor and he'll just, like, insta-grab you out of nowhere, and you can't really have fun with him. So I'm going to cheese the hell out of him, just kind of, you know, do some heat actions here and there, you know, maybe do that every now and then. And also, since I haven't grabbed him yet, I can grab him now and throw him to the ground, but once you do one grab on him, you cannot grab him again. So, you know, make sure to, like, strategize your grab wisely, because, you know, if you use it too early, then you won't be able to use it later, and then, you know, you're kind of screwed with this guy, because, you know, once he's like in his mode and ready to like block and defend you, it's like, oh my goodness, that's Herobrine. Oh no, the evil spirit has infected like Kuze Steve from Roblox 0, like, you know, these like past, you know, like strong heroic figures, you know, Minecraft Steve Kuze from Roblox 0, he's been corrupted. He lost his fight against his doppelganger Herobrine, and now Herobrine is in this world, while the Minecraft Steve Kuze is trapped in the dark lodge of jail. When Herobrine should be the one in jail. You know, Minecraft Steve Kuze from Roblox 0 is such a heroic figure, but now we're stuck with Herobrine, and Herobrine, he has a different fighting style from Minecraft Steve Kuze. You know, he's very like, he's very slow, he's very bad, because, you know, his first hit is so slow, so you can just like dodge away from him and do like a quick step attack going backwards, and it stuns him immediately, and that gives you a chance to do a combo. It gives you a chance to kind of do maybe a shorter combo once he enters heat mode, or it gives you a chance to set him up for a perfect heat action. Like this first boss fight, it's pretty easy if you have like a nice strat going into it. You know, me, I kind of like stun him, I do like a full combo, I do the red heat, like climax thing, and then it can kind of like go from there. Also, this video marks nearly the 1-year anniversary of my Roblox no damage videos. It's been nearly like a whole year of me like doing these Roblox videos, and yeah, like I spaced them out and like did other things in between Roblox videos, but it's been a whole year, and I finally like done all like the Roblox games out so far. And like, that's the thing, it's kind of like Yakuza has had a lot more games than like the Roblox games, so like the Roblox like could in time catch up to like the Yakuza series. Like, I don't know, I think the Roblox games, you know, there's been less entries, but like each entry has had like a lot more unique stuff going on between them. I don't know, since like the Yakuza games came out so quickly, and the Roblox games came out a lot more slowly, we were able to like get a lot more going on. And look at, so this fight right here, do you see how bad the frame rate is? This is also an intentional storytelling decision by the evil spirits of Paddington and the evil spirit of Herobrine. And also another thing, so in Yakuza 5 you fight a man named Kanai, but as a cute little reference to that, Herobrine in this game, in Roblox 5, takes up the fake name Kanai to blend into human society, and they all fall for it, showing how corrupted everyone has been by the evil spirits like infecting everyone in the forest, in the trees. It's insanity. And the evil spirits have attacked again at Haruka's second concert, slowing down the frame rate to make her perform worse, but because she is a strong-willed individual, full of balance of light and darkness, she's able to fight against the dark frame rate. And then finally, she's able to bring back the good frame rate back. What a heroic and compelling story. It's like Haruka's probably like the most emotional part of this game. I mean, I don't know, in Yakuza 5 it was Shinada, but for Roblox 5, it's like Haruka who kind of like saves everyone's, like, you know, in terms of spiritual despair. You know, it's a really, it's just, like, it's a storytelling and gameplay decision that really helps you connect with the main character, but it's also frustrating to no damage, because you have to deal with that bad frame rate every time you try to do this fight, and it's just like, ugh. But also, just ignore the next like minute or two of words I'm going to say. So yeah, this is a mod. These models are a mod, and when it comes to this mod, one of the most frustrating things is that Roblox Haruka only appears the first time you do this fight. The second or third time you do this fight, Roblox Haruka also appears, but she's not wearing her stage outfit. So it's like, you know, in order to no damage this, you have to kind of like quit the game, reload the mod, enter the game again, and then no damage it the first time you do it. Because if you don't no damage it the first time, the second time you like reload a save, it's just going to be Haruka in like her normal outfit, you know, like the white hoodie, the red undershirt. And I don't want that. Like, I mean, I want the stage outfit because this is a really important moment. It's about the stage outfit, you know, it's about dreams and all that. And if I can't complete the dream the way it was intended, the dream will shatter and the nightmare will crawl in, and we can't have that. We can't have the nightmare crawl in Roblox 5. It's not gonna happen, dude. I'm sipping on a pina colada right here, and I am of age, you understand? This is important stuff. Also, you have to remember the real name of the evil Paddington spirit, because if we keep calling it the evil Paddington spirit, what's going to happen is that Paddington's going to continue getting the blame. It's the evil version of you. No, but the evil version of him has a name, and the name is Clapham Junction. You have to remember this. Clapham Junction. Clapham for short. Clapham Junction. This is the evil Paddington. This is the spirit stopping the dreams from the Roblox 5 cast from coming true, and the dreams of the collective audience participating with Roblox 5 to come true. Clapham wants to bring on the nightmare, and we can't allow that. You have to remember. I remember that I just had a big meal recently, and that has made me remember that the reason I'm always talking in these Roblox videos is because most of these songs are copyright claimed. So if I stop talking, I get copyright claimed. So like I have to make the audio of my voice a lot louder than the audio of the game, because if the audio of the game is recognizable to the copyright system on YouTube, then this video gets demonetized. However, if my voice overpowers it, then I don't get demonetized. And it's worked for me 100%, except for one time I was dealing with Kanye, and Kanye was very insistent in demonetizing my video, and I had to kind of struggle with Kanye for a bit, but you know, it happens. But the fun thing is, I know this section isn't copyright claimed, and I do kind of like to have moments of silence in my videos, you know, because like there's a lot of talking, it's all very, very fast paced, but I do like to have moments of silence sometimes. It kind of has a nice pacing to the video, which is kind of impossible to do in a Roblox video until now. しく長い道の果てにゴールがある私は行くよ夢に見てた次のステージ I couldn't have said it better myself, and that concludes the journey of Roblox Haruka in Roblox 5. Now her impact is still felt throughout most of the game, but her kind of big narrative arc has pretty much ended at this point, which is a bit of a difference from Yakuza 5 and Roblox 5, is that Roblox Haruka's arc ends a lot sooner than Haruka's arc, and for the strategy for this fight is kind of do that kick, go to this enemy, make sure that your light attack kick hits that enemy, because that enemy is going to kind of hit all the other enemies like a bowling ball, just going to knock them down like pins, and since they have such little health, most of them are going to die, and the funny thing is, you see that little health bar on top of that health bar? He's already dead. That health bar shouldn't even exist. And in fact, once I go back into like gameplay there instead of the heat action like cutscene, then the health bar is gone. But for that split moment, it was still there for no reason. And you know, I kind of want to have a longer air combo, but it just did not happen. I kind of need heat to do the air combat. And the air combat in this game is a little bit disappointing just because it's a little bit too rigid. And I don't know, sometimes there's this thing you can do where you could like rush at an enemy and like do like a flying knee at them. But what tends to happen in really big crowds is that when I do the flying knee, I get hit by another person while doing the flying knee, and it's like, I thought I was supposed to be invincible when doing like the flying attacks, but I guess not, because otherwise I do get hit. So there, I do a red heat action on Herobrine there, and that scares some enemies off, and I can kill them instantly like that. And I kind of want to do the heat action where I take out 3 enemies at once. However, I don't end up doing that heat action in the first phase. I end up bringing that back in the second phase. But, which is really good, because in the second phase, it just means that that phase gets taken care of a lot quicker. So instead of doing that heat action, I did the heat action where I take out one of the enemies by a pull. And here, I lower Herobrine's health bar to a point where he does that little taunt heat action thing, where once he enters heat mode, he does like a little taunt. And that gives me enough time to take out one of the enemies, you know, kind of do a full combo. I hope you understand what I'm saying here, because that is what I did. And now I have to take out this one enemy in order to deal with Herobrine, because there's gonna come a point where I can do like a QTE on Herobrine, and if you don't kill all the other enemies around Herobrine when he does that QTE in here, the third hit of his combo will break your guard. However, the second hit, sometimes it kind of slides past your guard and will hit you. So what you want to do is you want to dodge the first 2 hits and then block the third hit if you want to do like that break block heat action. It's really important, because I mean, you can't block all of Herobrine's like combos. You know, some of his combos are just really sneaky and sneak past your guard. And here, like, I don't know, it's inconsistent, because sometimes if you like stun him, you can do a full combo on his back, and other times he'll just turn around so quickly that you just can't do anything about it. But it's not really gonna matter in the grand scheme of things. Okay, he summoned his second crowd. We have to deal with them. And the way I deal with them is just by doing that sick little heat action where I go boom, bam, pow. Like, this train station is honestly a lot smaller than you think it would be. It's just, there's not a lot of space to maneuver in, and like, there's so many enemies encroaching on you that it's crazy. And yeah, like, I mean, I took out 2 enemies, I took out a third one, and then boom, we're doing this heat action, and throughout this entire heat action, there's just gonna be this guy standing to our left, just kind of watching all the carnage happen. I think, like, his soul was corrupted, but now, seeing Akiyama's, you know, like, moves and all that, and seeing his spirit, you know, his determination, you know, like, his goodwill determination, he's, like, changed, you know, he's a changed man. In fact, he was never really a man in the first place, he was actually a ghost the entire time. And now we have reached Roblox Shinada's story, and it is a very important stepping stone in establishing the Lynchian tone of Roblox 5. Now, Lynchian tone is a very loaded term. Like, there's so many things that go into making something feel Lynchian, but I think one of the most important things to keep in mind is that if you need to establish a Lynchian tone, there must be a side story that seems to have no relationship to do with anything else in the story until you see the bigger picture. Like, I mean, you need to have that in order to make a Lynchian story, I think, and Shinada is the perfect example of this. He comes out of nowhere, he doesn't seem to be directly related to anything else going on, but he is still one of the most important aspects of the story. in Yakuza 5, he was my favorite aspect. In Roblox 5, I go with Roblox Haruka. I think she's my favorite aspect, but Roblox Shinada is number 2 in Roblox 5, and that's still a high regard, because frankly, in some aspects, I like silver better than gold. I mean, when it comes to tennis, I always like align myself more with silver than gold. And the strategy for this guy, I hope it's like pretty self-explanatory. Kind of do a full combo, grab him, heat action, I pick him up, I do one kind of hit, and then I pull out my sword. That's his certain heat action. That's the fun thing about Shinada. He has weapon combos, weapon heat actions, all very unique to him. And one of the things you do is that you can pull out certain weapons, and when you're pulling out the weapon, in the process of pulling out said weapon, you can do a heat action. You just kind of keep that going. The knife combo has its own unique combo, and the knife combo is a little inconsistent, especially if you do like the big super attack you can do with like pressing circle. I mean, it's circle on a PS5 controller, but you know the controllers, it's a different button, and I don't know what to call it. But on the PS5 controller, it's circle, so you know you do your little circle attack with the knife, and sometimes all the hits will hit him like they did in my video, and sometimes none of the hits will hit him, and it's very frustrating. And yeah, for the pole, this is a special pole you get. You get this pole like at the very beginning with Shinada, so it's actually impossible to miss this pole. But this red heat action, this red like climax heat action, that is something you have to work towards. You have to like train with this guy who has not the best luck with women. You have to train with that guy. You have to help him out, and then if you do that, he will give you this climax heat action. It's just so cool. He just freaking throws a stick at him like 3 times, like I don't know, and then he does like a baseball move. Like I really like that move quite a bit. And for this guy, I'm just kind of playing around with him, and like I don't know, Shinada combat seems pretty self-explanatory. You know, like you got your grab combos. The grab combos are super important. You know, you got the heat action, and the thing about this heat action is that you really want to fail the second hit, because that kind of sets him up to do like more fun combos. While here, I'm just gonna make fun of him and then do this third hit, because if you fail the second hit and then do with a heat action when he's like stunned against the wall, you're just gonna do the third hit. And so to kind of backtrack to a previous point I had about, you know, Paddington and Clapham. So when you're fighting the second Herobrine fight, you're in a train station. This is very important because the names Paddington and Clapham are train stations. Paddington Station, Clapham Junction, those are train stations. The good and evil spirits travel through the trains. That's why Herobrine was there. He wasn't just there to stop Roblox Haruka. I mean, in Yakuza 5, Kanai was there to stop Haruka and kind of kidnap her, but in Roblox 5, he's not just there for that. He is trying to take control of the train station he was at to use it for evil purposes, for Clapham purposes. You have to keep that in mind. Also, this boss fight's going to be the only time I use this heat action for Shinada, because I kind of think his other heat actions, like the pole and the spear, I think are just cooler. And I mean, I did use the spear in this fight. I kind of used the heat action you do when you pull the spear out, and like, you know, in the process of pulling out the spear, you can do a heat action, but I didn't want to do it against this guy, because that spear action, you're going to see what you can do with the spear in a later fight with Shinada, but for now, I'm just going to do the normal heat action, because I just feel it fits for this fight. You know, I like dragging this guy's face across the floor. You know, he's got this red aura that looks awesome. I mean, every single enemy in Yakuza 6 copies this guy's aura, so you know, I mean, it's gonna kind of lose its charm by that point. But at this point in time, I think it looks really sick. And yeah, this heat action's super dope too.
力で止めるしかないってことか。死ぬと分かっている場所に行かせるわけにはいかない。極道としてもお前の友人としても。
俺がそんなにやわな男かどうか確かめてみるんだな。
覚悟はいいな、達夫。
Something I forgot to mention with the previous fight, and it's also going to apply to this fight, is that you can't exactly start it off with a full combo. I mean, like the very first like Roblox Shinada fight, I kind of started off with a full combo, because like those enemies don't really retaliate as much as the enemy before Daigo and Daigo here. Because if you try to do it, then most of the time they'll either dodge it or like they'll do a counter on you. And it's a very tricky business, so you have to like get a little bit more creative with it. And for there, he was getting up, so like, you know, he didn't retaliate at first, but he will start retaliating, especially when you get into heat mode. And I mean, I don't know, when it comes to like Shinada strategy, when it comes to like Shinada strategies, I don't really know how to explain it. I just hope what I'm doing is self-explanatory. You know, I'm getting some nice grabs in there, and also, whenever you do like that grab, you know, the one where you like grab and like press triangle, a lot of the time he'll do like a flow. You know, like the first two like kicks you do against him is a flow. Also, those kicks I did against him, you're not supposed to lock onto him. If you lock onto him, you'll just kind of do a weird kick that won't hit him. So remove the lock on and then kick him, and you'll do kind of that kick which goes like straight up and like will catch him while he's like floating up in the air. You know, don't do a straight lock on kick. You know, do a kick that actually catches him in the air. And also, boss fights will have this thing where they're like taunting you in their heat mode, and you're able to do a full combo on them while they're taunting you. And that applies to like pretty much every boss fight except for maybe one or two. No, that applies to every single boss fight, but sometimes those boss fights are surrounded by a crowd, and well, that kind of makes things a little trickier. And now to get back to more narrative purposes, Daigo Dojima just has so much more to do in Roblox 5 because he has this whole secret identity, you know, something which like not even Kiryu knows about, not even Roblox Kiryu knows about this, but Daigo Dojima, that's 2 D's, DD. Do you know what D is missing? Daigo Dojima, the Dream Walker. He is central to all the dreams in Roblox 5. That's why he's training Shinada to kind of keep the dream going so he can help Roblox Kiryu, Roblox Saejima, Roblox Haruka, and Roblox Akiyama all to bring the dream to life and also to stop the nightmare of Clapham and all the villains associated with him, Herobrine. All the other ones, you're going to see them come up in this video. And there is a spear heat action, the red heat spear heat action. I'm just happy I'm able to do this heat action and also just get a big crowd of people like in that heat action. Because you take out these 3 people and then there's going to be a crowd of them that are just absolutely scared of you. You can take them out in like one hit, though. There's also like these guys with like the blue auras, you know. When they're really scared on you, they get on the ground and they have like this purple aura around them. You can kill them in one hit. But the blue aura people, they're kind of scared, but they won't die in one hit. And in fact, they'll recover very quickly from being kind of scared, and then they'll immediately try to attack you. And for this fight, I decided to bring in more weapons, a tonfa. It's super useful to use the tonfa. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but one thing you need to keep in mind about weapons in this game compared to Roblox 4 is that these weapons do not give you iframes. In Roblox 4, whenever you do like the special attack with circle, it gives you complete iframes, while in Roblox 5, that is just not the case. Like, I mean, there's still a use to using these weapons. Oh yeah, look at these sync though. I swear, like the Yakuza and Roblox like games feel like scientifically like crafted to sync well to music. Because I don't know, there's like some combat systems that do not sync well to music. You know, like the combat and music combined, it just doesn't give you like good vibes. So to be fair, I can't really name that game off the top of my head, but it definitely exists. I don't know, but the Yakuza games, the Roblox games, those sync amazingly to music. They just do. And yeah, I have my 3 weapons with me: my knife, my spear, and my tonfa. Tonfa is the one that's going to be doing most of the heavy lifting with the kind of big circle attack, which just demolishes enemies, because what it'll do is that the Tonfa, with its big circle attack, it'll stun any enemy that gets hit with it, and you know, most of the time I'll have a big crowd that's like stunned around me, and while they're stunned, I'll do the thing again and it'll kill them. And also I'm coming in with my double health bars, max stats, so I can have like, you know, more attack, more heat available at once, and I don't know what the other one does. I mean, there's like strength, focus, spirit. Strength gives you more attack, focus I'm assuming gives you like more heat. Spirit, I don't know what spirit does, because someone please tell me in the comment what spirit does. And yeah, for this boss fight, I just kind of, you know, get behind him. Since he's so focused on my partner here, I just can do a full combo on him, knock him to the ground, go behind him, do another combo while he's getting up, and then I can do this heat action, and it's over. It's over, just like that. It's lickety split, no fuss whatsoever. Okay, I'm going to destroy Baba here as Roblox Kiryu, because I don't know, I mean, Baba, when he's fighting Roblox Saejima, it's pretty epic. When he fights Roblox Shinada down the line, it's also really epic, but here he is a complete joke. So I'm actually going to talk about something which happens in the future of the Roblox 5 saga. Okay, so in the Kamurocho Hills level, like once you reach the last group of enemies in the first area, you can just like skip them and go to the door and enter. Like, I don't know, like once you go up the stairs, like that whole section until you reach the elevator with the boss is skippable. But it's only skippable if you are fast enough. You have to enter the boss arena before the text speech disappears. Once you take down only the boss, you can enter the elevator. And then once you reach the second floor, you don't have to deal with the first crowd of enemies there. Just rush to the door and open it to summon the boss in the white suit. defeat this boss and every single enemy before him will disappear. It's just crazy how much you can skip at that Kamurocho Hills level. It honestly makes retrying those boss fights, you know, a lot less stressful because it's like you don't have to do that entire level. You can practically skip huge portions of that level. And to be fair, even that level normally by itself is nowhere near as long as like the Kamurocho Hill levels in the original Roblox 4. Now that was an insanely long level. Like, wow. Like, I don't know, when it comes to like my least favorite fights in the game, I don't know, this one may be up there, but I don't know, it's not because I hate it. It's just that it's kind of underwhelming, you know. It's kind of like these are like the two most muscular characters in the game. Roblox, like Saejima and like Aizawa, you know, they're like, incredibly built, but like the fight itself just feels underwhelming, you know, just because Aizawa does not let you do much with him. And so for Roblox, Saejima is already kind of limited with what he can do. I mean, he can like overpower the enemy, but in terms of like, you know, combos or whatever, I mean, to be fair, Roblox 5 and Yakuza 5, in terms of like combo potential, is probably like at some of the lowest lows in the series. Like, I don't know, you could get a lot more experimental in Roblox 4 than you could in Roblox 5, I'll just say that. I mean, there's still things to do, but it isn't exactly as smooth or as fluid as some of the previous games. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. You know, you play that game, you can't really do what you could do in Kingdom Hearts 2, like by a long shot, but it can still be fun. I kind of see this game in a similar light, but I like it a lot more because I don't really like Birth by Sleep all that much in comparison to 2. But this is still like one of my favorite like Yakuza and Roblox games of all time. It's just that content and also just like the thematics and all that. I really like how it's all built up, even if it's not exactly the most elegant of the series in really any capacity. Well, no, wait. There's a lot of animations that are really elegant, and I don't know, sometimes he blocks, sometimes he counterattacks, sometimes he has like hyper armor. This fight's just a little, it's just a little not for me, really. But there is like stuff you can do. You know, you can kind of do that. You can kind of flip them around, and then boom, the fight's already over. We pretty much finished with that. And another thing I like to mention about the end of the game is that at the end of the game, you know, once you reach like the final chapter of this game, you can switch between characters, and you can do this 2 different ways. You can walk up and talk to that character to switch to them, or go inside the save room and select them from there. And here, since I'm talking about 2 different characters, we're going to be fighting 2 different boss fights at the same time. They have the same theme. This is going to go insane. Also, you have to keep in mind here, Roblox Kiryu is very drunk. That's why he was able to do this red climax heat action. And I myself, I may or may not have been drunk, but I have drunk in some alcoholic beverages, but I think they haven't really kicked into my system, or it wasn't nearly the amount which would, like, you know, cause a difference in effect. But even alcohol has spirits in it. Watch out. And for this fight, start the fight with the red heat action, and then kind of, there's this thing in Roblox 5 and Yakuza 5 which is pretty cheap, but I will be using quite a bit, where enemies on the ground, you can kind of do square, square, triangle, and then grab them, and it always works. There's rarely a moment where that fails as Kiryu. It makes him like completely unstoppable and indestructible, as some may say. And there comes a point in Watase's like health bar, it's kind of like halfway green or at the green point, where he'll activate his heat mode, and you know, you can do a full combo on him. And what I just did there is that I kind of did like a thing where I did square, square, like triangle. I threw him. I ran a really good distance away from him, and then I lit my cigarette. Because if you don't run a good distance away from this guy while you're trying to light a cigarette, he's going to get you. Because he has a tendency to just immediately combo you when he gets up. Because I don't know, lighting your cigarette takes a long while to do, and it's not something that happens. And also, what I'm trying to do here is, there was this one time when I was trying to no damage this guy that when I did that, the final hit actually landed on him, and I was able to do a grab combo that way. Though in this attempt, it never happened, and it was pretty sad. But it led up to this moment where I just kind of hit him, and then boom, look at that. Isn't that a frame? That's a painting right there. Every frame a painting. Look at that. Every frame a painting. Flash forward, boom. However, I will say at this point, this is a really nice like storytelling trick. You know, they're reincorporating their storytelling tricks from Haruka's section, because Watase is a pure-hearted soul. You know, it's just like really pure, but he's like a strong wall, so they kind of like contrast. But Naoki, or Katsuragi, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, he has some darkness in him. He has like some evil spirits in him. He has some like clapham in him. So that's why the frame rate is taking a hit. He's using the evil powers to tank the frame rate so you don't no damage him. However, Saejima is such a pure-hearted person that he's able to fight back against them and immediately bring the good frame rate back. And it's also a subtle indication that the evil is coming, because remember, this whole setup, and yeah, once he activates his heat mode there, one thing to do is kind of square, square, hold triangle, hit him, and then grab him. Though, to be fair, I think I'm only able to do that because I have my speed boost mod, but you can kind of do a variation of that without the speed boost mod. So, you know, I mean, I think you could do something when he activates his heat mode, and you can definitely grab him. So, you know, take advantage of that. But the frame rate getting really bad is not just an indication of the darkness in Kasuragi's heart, it's also an indication that the darkness is coming. The police chief is coming, because the setup for like this whole fight is that they have to fight each other to the death in order to draw out the real mastermind behind everything. So, like, I mean, the closer we get to, like, you know, completing these death battles, the closer the villain's coming, so the closer the frame rate gets bad. So, you know, it's just like, it's a really frustrating storytelling trick, but it is necessary to tell, like, the narrative, you know, the grand narrative of Roblox 5, you know, the dreams. It's important. It's really important to focus on it. Like, I really want to emphasize that it's not the evil in their hearts that's causing this frame rate, it's that the evil is approaching in the building. In fact, like, the evil may even be climbing the stairs of this really long building while Roblox Kiryu and Roblox Saejima are fighting. And, like, finally, Roblox Kiryu and Roblox Saejima are finally fighting once again. We haven't done this since Roblox 4, and here it's just a lot more epic, and I'm just going to absolutely demolish Roblox Saejima here. It's just kind of like, you know, just boom, grab him, do combo, grab him, and then kind of get behind him, lift him up. No, do a heat action, and then we're going to do this, boom, bam. And also, remember when I said that every time a boss enters into, like, heat, they have a big dramatic, like, taunt they do, which you can attack them during? Well, this is the one time where that is not true. Like, Saejima here will enter into heat without doing anything special. It's just once you reach a certain threshold, he will enter into heat. And also, I'm just gonna backtrack all the way to the Watase fight. Remember when I said that you have to wait for him to enter into heat mode to do a full combo on him? Well, if you pick him up from the back, he'll already be in heat mode and he won't do any dramatic. So don't do that. You have to wait for him to get back up on his own. Do not force him to get back up by grabbing him by the back or even grabbing him by the front once he reaches, like, his health threshold, because he'll just be in heat by that point. He won't do his dramatic taunt, which allows you to do a full combo on him. He'll just be in heat mode, and then he'll just be invincible. You can't do a full combo on him that easily. So, you know, just keep that in mind. It's really important. And yeah, look at that. Isn't that just what a frame? What a picture. Look at that. Just marvelous, just beautiful, that right there. Oh man. And this is like even more. Look at that, every frame of painting, look at this. Like, we have come so far in the Roblox franchise to get to this point. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the Roblox franchise actually follows a non-linear order. This is the last game in the Roblox series, you know, because it doesn't follow chronological order like the Yakuza series. So it starts with, like, Yakuza Kiwami 2, and then it continues on from there in a non-chronological order. Like, the games evolve in that sense. They don't exactly evolve, like, linearly. Just that's also kind of a Lynchian thing, though the Lynchian tone really, like, is emphasized in 5. The other games aren't really so Lynchian as this one. But the strategy for this fight, it's honestly pretty straightforward. It's like a more simple version of the Tojo Clan fight, you know, get heat, use heat to kind of destroy everyone, and then kind of rinse and repeat until you get to Herobrine here. And since we're playing as Kiryu, we're just going to demolish Herobrine, so it's pretty self-explanatory. What you see is what you get. So let me just say something about this finale. So there comes a point in the Saejima long battle, like the Saejima portion of, like, this long battle, where they're in the sewers, or, like, Saejima and Shinada just start talking at a certain point during the combat, and I swear I deal like 0 damage to the enemies I'm attacking while they're having this conversation. And the thing is, the enemies also do 0 damage to me during this conversation. And you can't skip the enemies, and you can't skip the conversation, and you can't kill them until Shinada and Saejima finish their talk. However, once the talk is over, you actually can skip the enemies. You know, once, like, Saejima and Shinada are done talking, you can just run straight ahead to the boss fight in the sewers, and it's just done. It's over. It's such a, like, weird design decision. That's one of the things I really don't like about Yakuza 5 and, like, Roblox 5, is that it just has these, like, weird conversations, which, like, you know, take up, like, a big portion of the level, and you can't do heat actions during these conversations. You can't exactly, like, you know, open your menu during these conversations. You can open up, like, the menu, which, like, takes you to the title screen, or, like, gives you a tip, but you can't open up, like, the actual, like, main menu. It's such a strange addition. Like, I really wish it didn't work like that. You know, just have them talk, but don't, like, interrupt main, like, gameplay modes to do that. So here, just Tiger Drop. You know, you have to learn the timing for this one, and sometimes he's a nasty one. He won't just do that attack. Sometimes he'll do, like, a kick, and that has different timing. Sometimes if he's feeling like really daring, he'll do a grab. And, you know, like, one grab from him already deals damage to you. You know, once he has you grabbed, that's already dealing damage, and that's, like, really sad. And I just hate that so much. All right, but something that's, like, really sad and tragic is, like, just Goro Majima's grandfather, the big ass cat. He's turned to the side of evil. He's been corrupted. You know, it's just like, it's a really poignant message about nostalgia and how we can't worship things from the past. You know, we have to be critical. You know, like, not everything holds up in a modern context. And, you know, we can't just let our heroes of the past become villains of the future and present. You know, we have to fight and, like, take them back. You know, like, they can't be, like, taken in by the I don't know how to fully explain it, but it's some really powerful stuff. And like Roblox Saejima is just the perfect combatant for this like, past Roblox Zero Heroian. Is Heroian a word? I don't even know if it's a word, but yeah, we're gonna start this fight off by doing a little combo, like 1, 2, hold, kick, and that doesn't always work. Sometimes you'll just block all those kicks and it's kind of frustrating, and sometimes you won't even like do like a backflip recoveries. Other times he'll just actually land on the ground, and if he's like lands on the ground, then we get to do a heat action that way. But I don't know, the only way to like consistently get him to like get splatted on the ground for like, a ground heat action is to grab him and do a light attack combo, and like these like evil gases keep building up into like my chest and then my throat, and I don't want to release them. I want to keep talking. But then like I grab him, I throw him, I do that heat action, that does a little QT, and then after that QT I grab him again, I do the climax red heat action to kind of slam on the ground. And one thing is, oh hey, doesn't this guy have like shadow clones? Why don't you do the climax heat action on the shadow clones? Well, I tried it, but it didn't work, and I really wish it did work, because like the shadow clone phase of this fight is is the hardest thing about this fight. I don't know, it's just there's no real like concrete strategy aside from bait out the attacks, and if a clone is doing an attack, like tackle into them. But one thing is, when you're tackling these clones, you don't have like full iframes. You don't really have any iframes. So you not only have to like bait out these attacks in order to be able to tackle them into like non-existence, you also have to tackle them at a point in their combo where they're not going to like hit you. It's really like tough, and I struggled a lot with it, especially on Legend. I had to repeat the level over and over again just to do the shadow clones again and fail. So it was really tough. But once you like defeat the shadow clones, like this should be cake, because like the shadow clones is pretty much like the hardest part about this fight. So yeah, here I'm just waiting for him to kind of do this combo. Once he does that final hit, I can grab him and do 1, 2, 3. Now you don't exactly have to wait for that final hit for certain other strategies. Like in fact, I'm going to show you right now that you don't have to wait for that final hit to do a combo. So yeah, look at that, 1, 2, 3. Once he does this third little jumpy, go in and do a combo, and that'll like be nice and good, and then we'll get back to that QTE. And oh yeah, one other thing to mention about the shadow clones is that you can't skip the shadow clone phase of Majima's fight. Goro Majima's like grandfather's fight, the big ass cat. You can't skip that phase. Even if you delete his entire health bar before he does it, he will not die until he pulls out the shadow clones. You still have to defeat all the shadow clones before activating the final QTE. And also another neat detail is that when he summons his shadow clones, he doesn't summon shadow clones of himself. He summons shadow clones of his son, because he was going to mass produce like Goro Majima's abilities into multiple different like dark shadow like clones, just like evil Paddington, Clapham. It was going to be a global event of Goro Majimas all around the globe, but evil. And Saejima is just the perfect person to stop that. But his grandfather was being corrupted to use his like son's likeness, no, his grandson's likeness into a global scale, and it's just disturbing. So yeah, but Shinada, like there comes a point where like Baba is going to pull out his heat mode when he gets up. So I just pull out the stick and I kind of do a little stick combo while he's like doing his taunts. However, you have to like activate the climax heat action immediately after he does the combo, or else you're gonna get hit. Or else you're gonna have to get hit. It's very precise timing. I just kind of spammed the button at a certain point and it works, but it's a really tough timing. So you might not get it right the first time. So just be really careful about that. So I want to backtrack to something and say that. Well, before I backtrack to that, I just want to say that what's gonna happen next is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so once you once that little QT thing is done, you can kind of do like a full combo and get him from there. And sometimes if you're quick enough, you can kind of do another combo there, but I keep messing it up and it's pretty sad. But yeah, most of what I'm gonna do here, like in terms of combat and like tech, is pretty self-explanatory. To be fair, I don't think it's that self-explanatory, but if you watch my original Yakuza 5 video in conjunction with my Roblox 5 video, you will probably get the most amount of knowledge involving this combat system and the way I'm approaching it. And also, like, I probably explained some things in my Yakuza 5 video which I don't explain in my Roblox 5 video. I mean, the reason this entire Roblox series has even started is because I was not happy with my original Yakuza Kiwami 2 no damage video. That video, I think I believe is still my worst no damage video ever. Like it runs the worst, it looks the worst, and my strategies are just the most cheap out of like every single video I've made. And it's just a video I'm not very proud of, and I didn't want to like leave my legacy with like Kiwami 2 with like that pretty like poor video. So I didn't want to just replay Yakuza Kiwami 2 again. That would just be redundant. So instead, I would play Roblox Kiwami 2, which is very similar and would achieve, like redoing that video while giving you something new. So that is how this Roblox series has been birthed, and now it has reached its like its present conclusion. Who knows what happens next in the future, but for the moment, until a new announcement comes out, this is the end of Roblox, and it is tragic, especially with Baba. I don't know, Baba is a really interesting character in Roblox 5 because he can't really be possessed by any of the spirits. He has an ability very similar to the Dreamwalkers. That's why we're fighting him at the Dreamline stage, because he is in between a Dreamwalker and a Dreamliner. And, it's kind of what brings about his suicidal tendencies, is that he doesn't feel like Destiny has given him, what he's worth, but Shinada allows him to, like, self-actualize and, like, finally realize his self-worth. And now we're going to fight the final Herobrine fight. We're finally going to put this evil spirit down for good. He will no longer haunt Minecraft, Roblox, or Yakuza. And the fate of Kanai is sealed. We are ending him tonight. Probably the most important thing to keep in mind about this final Kanai, final Herobrine fight. Kanai is the fake name that Herobrine uses. The most important thing to realize is that you don't have to beat everyone to beat Herobrine, the spirit. You just have to beat Herobrine. Succeed at the final QTE. But if you fail that final QTE, then you have to beat everyone in order to win this fight. But if you do, not fail that final QTE, then you're good. And also, the smoke gun. Why am I using the smoke gun? Because it took 18 attempts to no damage everyone in the final battle, except for final Kanai and final Herobrine. So I switched my strategy from just weapons to grinding for the smoke gun to handle the crowd. Because the smoke gun is just so useful with, taking out everyone in the crowd. It doesn't kill them, but it just knocks them out. It just knocks them away, knocks them down, so I can get a clearer path to Herobrine, so I can finally do my heat actions, my red heat combo, just kind of destroy everything like that, just keep everything nice and smooth and just flowing, keep the flow going. Something that should be mentioned about my double health bar here is with the yellow health bar. Now, what the yellow health bar represents is the true goodness in the world. And some people in the comments might say that I'm taking damage because this yellow health bar is going down gradually, but it's not because I'm taking damage, but it's because in a world as dark as this one, there can never be true goodness that can last forever. It's kind of all good things will come to an end, but that doesn't mean we can keep making that doesn't mean that we have to stop making good things. We can continue to bring true goodness into the world, but just remember that don't fixate on it too much. That is nostalgia, which can destroy societies. It's destroyed Rome, it's destroyed Great Britain. Well, I don't know about Great Britain. That one's a little bit more subjective, whether Great Britain has been destroyed. We'll just have to have a conversation about that later. But yeah, the strategy is to pretty much just use heat actions on only final Herobrine in order to kill him and end the spirit for good, while ignoring all the other enemies and kind of clearing them out with a smoke gun and just kind of going from there. Also, I'm just going to backtrack for a bit and say that I installed the cheat engine in order to beat the final boss fights faster, in order to reach the finale faster and kind of beat the final boss fights quicker. Making the speed maxed out, however, does not make the Saejima or Shinada conversation any faster, just the enemies. So you still have to sit through that entire conversation even if you speed up the entire game. So that is rather unfortunate. And it's just since I'm playing on Legend, every time you fail one of these boss fights or take damage, you have to repeat the entire level over again. It's just So making it faster does help. However, making it faster also makes the QTEs faster. Keep that in mind. So one weird detail about this fight is I'm not able to pull out a smoke. Also, at the very beginning, he's going to rush you, so parry him, and then, you don't have to parry him to do this heat action, but I do parry him because, what? Are you going to try to do this heat action while he's trying to attack you? It's going to be too tough. And then once you, parry him and he's on the ground, I can kind of do that. And once I do that, I can grab a sofa and hit him. And then once I do that, I'll just do the combo again, and I'll grab a table to hit him. And then once I do that, I'll do the combo, throw him down, and then he's going to enter heat mode, so I can do a full combo on him. And then from there, I'll do another grab combo, and then I'll do a heat action while he's getting up. And then while he's getting up, I'll do that heat action. The heat action will send him to the ground again. I'll do a combo at that point again, and then at that point, I'm just going to throw him and do another taunt. And then once I do that taunt, it's going to go into this big cinematic QTE where I have to spam the freaking X button for 10 to 20 seconds, on repeat. And believe me, you have to do a lot of button spam. It's boom, bam, throw him, taunt, and then here comes the music. Now you don't have to spam the button particularly hard, but you do have to spam it consistently, and it's for like that duration of time it gets like a bit ridiculous. And I was spamming it pretty hard. The way I would spam the controller is I would hold the controller in my left hand, kind of hold it away from me, and then like with my left finger, I don't know, there's like different names for these fingers, you know, index, middle, pinky, but whatever. I forgot exactly which one is on the very left of your right hand, but I was just spamming downwards on that X button just over and over and over. It was like really tough and challenging. I mean, like, okay, honestly, it's pretty easy for me to do it, but like, just like all these other QTEs, you don't even have to like spam them too hard. I mean, definitely like spam them with some speed, because if you get too lazy with it, you know, you'll fail it and all. But it's not as hard as the one where you're just freaking struggling with him for like the first like 10 or 20 seconds. And when I say him, I am of course talking about Saint Aizawa, because that is his true form. Masato Aizawa was just a copy. It was a fragmentation. It was simply a part of his subconscious of the true being, Saint Aizawa. He is a traitor to like everyone here, because he is the true dreamer. Because, you know, Roblox 5 is all about dreams. It's about the dreams of Paddington. It's about the dreams of Clapham. It's about the dreams of Herobrine. It's about the dreams of the Robloxian people. Roblox Hiryu, Roblox Akiyama, even Roblox Tanimura. It's about the dreams of everyone here, but who is the dreamer? And the dreamer is Saint Aizawa. So once he fully awakens, the dream ends, and that's what we're trying to like stop in this fight. Saint Aizawa is easily the strongest dreamer in the entire Roblox universe. That's why his aura is so heavenly. It has those white highlights on it and like a pink glow. Pink is symbolic for many things, but I forgot what, but it's really important to his status as a dreamer. So, you know, he has the longest health bar out of really most final boss fights in this series, and also is just really a lot of endurance. So it's going to be a boss fight of heat actions. I'm going to be doing as many heat actions as possible while also keeping them unique, because, you know, if you repeat a single heat action, then it's not going to deal as much damage as the previous one. There's also going to be a parry game, and really, I only really know how to parry 1 or 2 attacks from this guy, but that one combo he does is the parry I want to do. Well, there is one weird thing. There is some differences between like Aizawa on PS4 and Aizawa on PC. I don't know. If you run really far away from Aizawa, wait for this. Now, the reason that Saint Aizawa has 2 separate themes is it represents the dual nature of his subconscious. You know, there's Masato Aizawa and there's Saint Aizawa, the true self and the subconscious self. So, you know, these 2 themes kind of bring out both spirits of himself. You know, they're both very heroic, but one is a lot more melancholic, while the other one is a lot more like, you know, coming to a conclusion about everything. You know, it's like the dream is nearly about to end, but we're not there yet. We have to fight against it. And yeah, but back to my point. So like, Aizawa on PS4, whenever you ran really far away from him, he tended to like charge at you kind of in the same way he does in the beginning of this fight. And on PS4, you could kind of parry him the same way you could at the beginning of this fight. But on PC, I don't know, whenever he like charges at you, he also like stops himself like right before he hits you, and he does something else entirely. So most of the time I end up grabbing him, and when you grab him, like, you know, you just kind of get screwed. And also, those tally sticks, sometimes I try to do like a combo with those tally sticks when he's like stunned, and just don't do that, because he has this tendency, when you're done with the combo, he just instantly grabs you out of nowhere, and it's a really weird thing, and it always screws me up. And honestly, I failed this time like 3 or 4 separate times when he was on his last health bar, because I always get grabbed or like I fail a parry, and it was extremely frustrating, because if you fail this fight, then you have to redo the entire finale, the previous 3 final boss fights, and it's just like, oh wait, but this is insane. Just like Aizawa, Saint Aizawa getting kicked outside the door into like the snowfield is probably one of the most beautiful images created by Yakuza 5 and Roblox 5 respectfully. And once we enter this phase of the fight, I tend to do a full combo here, and it's like, I don't know if I could do that full combo before every time with Aizawa, but every time I enter out in the snowfield, the first time I can parry him, I tend to do a full combo, and he tends not to turn back around. And I don't know, it's just worked for me before, so I decided to do it this time. And when it comes to heat actions, I do tend to keep them all pretty unique, but at one point I'm going to repeat a single heat action, and yeah, that's going to be pretty sad, because I could have done another heat action, but I don't know, I just felt kind of tired by that point, and like, there is one heat action I really wanted to do on this guy. It's the smoke heat action, and I don't know if I brought this up before, but for some reason I can't pull out a smoke during this fight. It's like Kiwi respects him too much, and I don't even know if I said this before or if I haven't said that before, but I need to mention it again right now. So yeah, we're finally on his like last 2 health bars, and yeah, there's gonna come a point where he like regenerates all his health again, and yeah, that's a repeated heat action. I repeated it again because you see, I'm trying to do enough heat action in order to build up the red like heat bar here. You know, like the red heat bar, because the way that gets filled is not by like dealing damage, it's not by like, you know, not taking damage, it's by doing heat action. So you need to do heat action in order to fill it up, and well, there it is. And there isn't really much more to say. Oh wait, there is one more thing to say. So sadly, one thing which is true about this game and is not true about the other games is that doing heat action, like doing the drunk heat actions, does not get you undrunk. It doesn't like sober you up. In the previous games, if you were drunk and you did a heat action specific to being drunk, you would stop being drunk after doing that heat action, but in this game that is just not true. Which is sad, because I kind of wanted to start off this fight being drunk, do the red drunk heat action, and then, you know, do enough heat action in order to do another red heat action, but by that point I would be sober and I would do a different red heat action, but since I can't stop being drunk, then that's just not going to happen. Sadly, like really, really sadly. I don't want to open the menu and like delete my health to do a different red heat action. I don't want to open the menu during these fights. I don't want to interrupt these fights. I want it to be a smooth, continuous flow. But yeah, like that's it. That's the video. Thank you for watching. Remember, we live inside a dream. And I will see you all then in the next one.
這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這這何年経っても構わない。這い上がってまた俺に向かってこい。そん時まで待っててやるぜ。